friends, in the last video we discussed about the poem Swordium by Nissim Ezekiel. Today we are here to discuss about a poem by Nissim Ezekiel whose title is Marriage. Let us start the poem. Hello students, let us start the poem Marriage by Nissim Ezekiel. Lovers, when they marry, face eternity with touching grace, complacent at being fated, never to be separated. The bride is always pretty. The groom, a lucky man, the darkened room roars out the joy of flesh and blood. The use of nakedness is good. I went through this believing all our love denied the primal fall. Wordless, we walked among the trees and felt immortal as the breeze. However, many times we came apart, we came together, the same thing over and over again. Then suddenly the mark of Cain began to show on her and me. Why should I reign the mystery by harping on the suffering rest, myself a frequent wedding guest. The theme of the poem develops through six stages. Six stages of marriage is described throughout the poem, and these are love, marriage, joys of married life, strains in marital relationship, antagonism, and separation, and the refusal of the poet. Dwell upon the topic further. It is one of the ironies of life that marriage which unites the lovers ultimately leads to their separation. Marriage unites, and the poet says that it is the marriage which separates the man. The bliss that begins with a touching grace of eternity gradually disappears. Strains develop, and many a time the lovers settle down to a nagging existence. The unresolved marital strains not only destroy the dream but also result in the disintegration of emotions and intellect. Through an effectively contrasting concept, the poet suggests that the whole process, which begins with the denial of sin, which is innocence, ends in the thought of a murder, which is also a sin. However, the mystery of marriage continues to haunt the poet himself as a frequent wedding guest, silently and sadly witnessing marriages which are destined to disintegrate in due course. The enchantment makes victims all of us. The enchantment of marriage makes victims all of us. This is an interesting poem dealing with love and marriage. This is a very interesting poem which deals with love and marriage, happiness and bliss, and the cursory glance cast over with doubt and aspersion and ever return by Nissim Ezekiel. Just like Javis wedding in Bombay. A modern poet, he at his best while inculcates in the ironic mode for which he is famous for. Fun, irony, humor, and caricature are the chief properties of the poet. Here in this poem, he takes up marriage as the topic of his romantic discussion. As a romantic, he just tries to recreate, and regale us by giving tips in modern life. Lovers, when they marry, take it for granted that they are the right pair. When the two lady and a man are married, they think that they are right pair. the right couple to have been blessed with, made by God, and that they will never separate from each other. A pair made from the paradise, transfixed and made it happen. Things will remain benedictory to them. Hence, the resultant complacence and peace is to be marked on their face. They feel it within that. The things will keep going as thus, full of love, peace, and happiness. There is nothing to be said and morose. The grace of eternity will definitely overshadow them in sun and sorrow. Will pleasure be short lived? Will their pleasure be short lived? They doubt not even a fig of it. The bride, as ever held, remains the pretty one to be viewed by the congregation gathered there, and the groom a lucky man to have got her. Such a beautiful better half is always the thing of deliberation. She looks like a fairy, a celestial damsel. Later on, the scenes and the side shifts to the dark room full of man-woman relationship, laying there bare the story of attraction and repulsion met in love, flesh and blood contact, sensual pleasure and fulfillment of carnal desires. The story revolving round man's temptation does the rounds. Madly after love, he forgets it, the primal fall, as they walk over a track held in love, sympathy, and bonding. Forsaking disbelief and negativism, casting aspersions with regard to its permanence, where everything is futile. They take the things in their own way, grappling within the likewise manner, thinking themselves immortal. The trees lie all around, and the bridge refresh up. But the domain of life is not exactly so. Many a time things take a turn otherwise, and they settle it too amicably, leaving no scope for untidiness. But a time comes when the things appear to be beyond repair. Frictions and fissures creep in and cracks figure on the surface of their relationship. The poet himself, a wedding guest, why should he delve deep into the mystery? As a groom, he too one day married a girl. This is as usual as of others, and there is nothing else to change it. Marriage is a poem of marriage, arranged marriage, not love marriage. Glowing to each other after seeing, lovers when they marry think themselves so much blessed and fortunate people basking in love. Eternity seemed to be shining over them, and they, the partakers of that. The newly married couple think it that the marriage was preordained, settled in paradise as it had to happen, and they would never separate in the next birth too. Based on the edifice of such a conjecture and reckoning, the relationship starts up with a view to sailing through. As ever viewed, the bride is always pretty and the groom a happy man to have got her luckily. The dark room looked dark as the darker stories of to tell. The relationship where flesh hangs heavy upon, the choice and bliss of flesh and bloody contact, man-woman relationship, attraction and repulsion, attachment and detachment, give and take relation. These are but the after scenes to follow and enthrall. Unmindful of the primal fall, they walk down the track of life together with an utter attraction and attachment. The bridge refreshes them, and they feel it immortal after walking together, sharing with and enjoying the moments. They think it otherwise, oblivious of the zigzag ways of life and the crosses of destiny. When faced with some problems, they overcome it, but again starts affecting, leaving an impact of on with the frictions and fissures making inroads into the edifice. Finally, the poet wants it not to resolve the mystery by asserting it or rejecting it. He goes on to continue with his observations. Envisaged when the short-lived bliss and happiness give way to where lasts nothing except struggle and suffering, anguish, dejection, and disappointment engage the mindscape, and the heart feels it not good. The poet himself, a wedding guest, knows it not what at the end of the story relationship make the disintegrate to in the likewise manner. How to resign them is the thing to be dealt with. Thank you students for being here.